Well, it's that time again, folks. My name is Kenny Jahng. We are here with the Church Tech Today podcast. We are going down even further in the sphere of AI and discipleship. This is one of the sweet spots I think that AI has that is often overlooked. We constantly are looking at AI for novelty and content creation, but in the actual ministry of discipleship, there's a very big case for using and applying AI tools together. And for that purposes, I've invited two friends here, co-founders of a tool called Tapos.app. Welcome to the show, Preston and Nick. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Kenny, thanks for having us.
Hey,
We're doing
quickly,
well.
for everybody here, before we dive right in, could you just give us like one sentence or two of like who you are and what's your role at Tapos?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started Tapos about a year and a half ago. So I'm the initial founder and basically the lead dev, doing most of the nerdy behind the scenes things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Nick. I'm the pretty face in front of Tapos. Preston's the brain, so
Self-claim,
he just threw me.
self-claim.
Yeah.
So what does your company do for churches, right? So Tapos.app, it's a SaaS product, it's online, it's a tool that pastors and church staff leaders should investigate. What does it actually do?
Yeah, it makes discipleship easier in the AI world. It takes your sermons and your content, and you're able to ask questions, you're able to search, and it provides answers from your content and your trusted sources.
Yeah. And one
In
of
short, Tapos is the easy one-stop shop for AI for churches.
Yeah. And so what I love about your journey, and as I've gotten to know you guys, is that it is not just, hey, business people trying to find a market, but it's coming out of real practitioner usage, right? Nick, you're a pastor and you're seeing the actual fruits of how we can use AI and even the places that the AI tools are not probably the best place to do. Can you just share a little bit about the origin story about this product and platform? Like what actually sparked the idea? I love hearing these origin stories of the AI tools that we have today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell kind of mine, and then Nick, you can tell kind of your intro into it as well. So it's probably about a year and a half ago, and I was in a Bible study, and we're sitting around, and the pastor had said something a couple weeks ago. It was the perfect thing that we needed to disciple in that moment. And you were trying to talk with this guy and encourage him, like, "Hey, man, the pastor said this," and so literally 8 of us were like pulling up YouTube, we're panning through, we're trying to find, scrolling through. So maybe it was the week before, maybe it was the week after. After about 10 minutes, we just gave up. We couldn't find it. And I realized the tragic truth that the wisdom of the church is buried. It is just in these archives that are non-discoverable, inaccessible, and not able to be utilized in a practical way. And so I was kind of challenged in the moment. I was like, the guys were like, "Preston, don't you build apps for a living? Like, can't you find a solution for this?" And so that was kind of the inspiration. I'm like, all right, I really think we got to find a way to make the wisdom of the church accessible and discoverable. And AI is really the only way to do that in a meaningful way.
Yeah, my intro to it was Preston calls me and he's like, "Nick, dude, I have this great idea. What if all your sermons could be searchable?" And I'm going, "Oh, please, God, no. What heretical thing have I said? Or what dry humor is somebody not going to understand
How many
when I preach?"
office references
Yeah,
are
how many office references are just just overdone? I mean, the show's 15 years old, 20 years old now. But so he asked me that question. There was a little bit of fear. He told me to get on it, encouraged me, so I did. And then about a month after that, my dad calls me and he says, "Hey, Nick, I'm actually retiring at the end of this year." And that's when it really hit me of going, 20 years of my dad's sermons are just buried. And I rely on him so much for advice. When he's done, how do I access this? How can I continue to ask him questions when he leaves this world? And so I uploaded all his stuff, and now I don't even have to talk to my dad. I have his wisdom. I have his sermons. I don't even need him.
There's the dry
That's
humor.
another joke. Sorry.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this journey I think has been interesting to unfold, especially looking at even other AI apps out there for the church and seeing the evolution, right? Like it's one of those things when I was part of a venture catalyst firm where we had multiple companies in the portfolio, we saw how the initial impetus for starting the company sometimes changes over time because of interactions with actual users and seeing how the communities actually use the product, which many times are even more robust or dynamic than we imagined as startup founders, etc. Currently, when you're talking to pastors and churches that are putting Tapos into action, what would they say is the problem that they're addressing on their side? Like, what do they think that they're solving?
Yeah, it's twofold. The first one, like we've been talking about, their wisdom is buried and it's not being used. It seems like the Sunday message ends Sunday afternoon when everyone breaks for lunch, and it's what did the pastor say? And it maybe last an hour. And so discipleship is just falling short there. And so the first problem is making your sermons extend beyond the pulpit. Not just till that following Saturday, but I mean weeks, months, years past. And then the second problem is just time and bandwidth on every pastor. It seems like discipleship and ministry all gets bottlenecked on one guy. And so being able to make pastors' times more efficient, and then even to start equipping others to begin using this to create study guides, demos, things that will help their congregation into deeper discipleship.
I love it. So, why don't we zoom back out for a little bit because not everyone knows Tapos. How does it actually work? Can you just give a very simple 20,000 foot view of what does a pastor do when they're actually setting up Tapos and using Tapos? Basically, one of the steps is they can actually upload all of their own sermons, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so we've actually developed a framework to walk pastors through this. What does it look like to actually equip your congregation with AI? And so we call it the SEND framework. So there's four steps of that. The first one is seed, and that's where you upload and curate your library of content. That's your sermons, that's your podcast, everything you have there. You seed it, you stylize it, you categorize it and tag it. The next one is to engage, and this is the most important one. You've got to equip your congregation with that. Put the chatbot on your website, send out the links to the actual library page where they can interact with it. Utilize our API if you really have a really tech-savvy team. But also use it to generate resources that you can share out automatically with your team on a weekly basis. The third step is nurture, and that's when you actually take those insights. So as people are interacting with the content on your library, you can actually see the anonymized insights from that and use that to drive action steps. And if you can effectively do those three, that's what we believe truly leads to discipleship in the AI age. Is to help equip, seed, engage, nurture, and then all that can at the end of the day lead to discipleship.
Oh, I love that framework. And so this is a process that your tool supports throughout the entire process, like, or is it just solving one little piece of that?
When you log in, our admin portal that you will log into has four sections: seed, engage, nurture, disciple. And it walks you through the sub steps within that, to seed with structure, to seed with style, to seed with selection, and so on and so forth, walking through all the different ways that you can go from having no experience with AI to having a fully AI equipped congregation that's not replacing the pastor, but supplementing and pointing everything back to gospel centric truth.
I love it. Okay. And so it's not just like, hey, let's just copy paste the sermon into ChatGPT and then see what happens. You actually have this whole process that actually gives that guardrails. One of the things I love about your platform also is that it's not just your own trusted sources, right? Like it's not your own manuscripts from your sermons and Bible study lessons that you've written, but you have the ability to do more than that in terms of the trusted sources, right? Because I think one of the biggest concerns, we're seeing it in our AI Next State of the AI in the Church survey, that the number one issue that pastors have with AI is theological alignment. There's a big concern that's the number one issue pastors have in our national survey. How does that get addressed, and how do you do that beyond just your sermons?
Yeah, so it's you can seed with just your sermons. That's step one. But then step two is you actually go and choose your trusted sources and who you want pouring into you. And so for me personally, I have the Bible Project as one of my trusted sources. I have Got Questions, my dad's sermons. And so when I go and do research, ask a question, it's actually pulling from each one of those trusted sources and answering. And so I've as I sermon prep, I've already been using those people, but it required me to go to their site, go do deep study, go find the answers that I'm looking for. And Tapos reverses all of that. It brings all of that to me, and then actually sources it out so that I can actually go do a deeper study.
Yeah, that
One of
I
the
think
biggest
is
things
one of the
too.
best parts of Tapos in particular.
And one of the biggest things too is, there's a lot of tools out there that are they're hyper focused on equipping the pastor, and I love that, and I think that's a very needed skill set. That's not truly where our heart and desire is. We love the pastor, and we have really cool tools that help equip the pastor, just like Nick has talked about. But everything that Nick just described there is fully accessible as well to the end congregant, and so you go to your church's website, and if they've embedded that widget, all the wisdom not only of that their library, but also the trusted sources that they've chosen to say, hey, these are all in theological alignment with us, are now a corpus of knowledge that can be accessed. And it's really important for like small churches who maybe they're just getting started. They've got maybe 5 months worth of sermons. They haven't gone through a Romans series. So if I'm asking about Romans 12, it's not going to have an answer for me. And so you can go through and actually say, hey, bring in Bible Project, bring in these other trusted sources that can help supplement the library of wisdom that we're exposing to help disciple our congregation.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. And I guess not to get into the weeds, one of the things I love as superpower is that if you want to, when you're picking and seeding, as you say, the sources, even for your own church, you could even just put in a YouTube playlist link, I think, and then it does like many churches, the pastors have been preaching for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, some 40 years or more, and you have hundreds of sermons on YouTube. And the idea of getting someone to copy paste every single one by one is just so tedious. But you have a facility that does it all in bulk, right? Like, just can you just share that for a second? Because I just want to show how easy you've made it in terms of the user experience to get on board and get going.
Absolutely. The goal was to make this to not add work to the
Yeah.
church staff, but to take work away and to free them up to actually do hands-on ministry. And so we've made that as easy as possible. All you have to do is copy the YouTube link. We give a demo of exactly how to do that. Copy the playlist link, and we will auto pull from that multiple times a day, bring it through, process all the insights from every single new sermon that is there, and save it to your library of wisdom. And the beauty of it is we have that stored. And so if for something ever happened to YouTube or something happened to your Facebook live stream, that's still stored. All those wisdom and insight is still preserved. You can obviously delete it in the future if you would like, but we have those insights saved for you. You can also upload just a PDF or upload the actual audio or video files if that's your preferred method. But by far, if you're already on YouTube, just link your playlist and we will auto pull from that.
Awesome. So, can you give us maybe one or two real world ways that churches are actually using your tool that are not like like it's not the standard thing that we all dream of when we're thinking of an AI tool. Like, what's one or two ways that might surprise us or spark new ideas for like, oh, we might be able to use AI in a way that's different than I thought of just minutes ago before starting this interview and podcast. Maybe if you have one each, like, can you share like what's a real world way that a church is using it that's surprising or different?
Yeah, so our church currently uses it. When I when I get my sermon up on time, like not Sunday morning, when I'm prepared ahead, we take my sermon notes. It hasn't been preached yet. It's just a PDF file, and we actually generate children's ministry ideas. And so for our 5 and unders class, it gives us 3 different craft ideas, tells us what materials we need, what steps to take, and then how it connects to the Sunday sermon. And so the reason we do that is we're really geared towards all sections of our church learning the same thing that week. It starts to facilitate conversations with you and your kids on the drive home. And so, yeah, and then Preston.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen people do as well, which is you can tell we're both parents, is generating Bible studies. So we have about 125 default generate resources that you can generate either from your entire library on a specific topic or from specific pieces of material. But kids' bedtime stories is one that we've had it generate, and so it's a fun activity where we say, hey, what's your favorite color? What animal are you thinking of right now? And we have it generate a gospel centric bedtime story that I can read over the kids, that's grounded and rooted in the wisdom of the church. And one other example that I'll share, because it's a little different here in scope, is we have some organizations, some churches that have a counseling Center as a part of their organization. And so they have a bunch of material there that's centered around counseling or specific, elements of discipleship. And so they've created a sub account within their umbrella church Tapos account. They've created a sub account that they can seed with just the material for that and provide as a separate resource that they have insights and visibility into, but it can be used as a resource specifically tailored to that specific ministry within their organization.
Wow, I love that. Um, can we talk about some of your core customers, the ones that are fully aligned and understand that they know how to steward AI? What's something that they're doing differently when they approach AI? Like, how are they thinking it different than the typical pastor now that's still in the early stages of adoption? Are there any tips or approaches that you've seen that are actually meaningful that changes the game for a pastor when they're thinking about it differently?
Yeah. I think the first step is I I'll just talk personally. When I actually did just a quick history lesson of the church and technology and going, man, it's actually good to be hesitant. I'm not going to tell you not to be. You should be weighing the pros and cons, and you should know the pitfalls. That it is just wise for pastors to do that. However, we have adopted every new technology eventually, and we've seen gospel actually grow from there. We've seen the gospel used through television, radio, through the printing press, through the internet, through anything really. And so the shift that needed to happen for me was just going, AI is just another tool. That's all it is. And if I can get good at this tool, look how much better and more efficient and how much time I'm saving by letting it do this so that I can actually go and talk to these people here at this coffee shop.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
the way I've liked to phrase it in the past is we can either embrace AI for the light or we can abandon it to the darkness. And that's the challenge for the church that's ahead of us. Is, what are we going to do? We have to have an answer to AI. It's one of those polarizing topics. And so, are we going to embrace it or are we going to reject it and let the world kind of run with it and do with it what it will? And then one of the more kind of practical example that I've seen, kind of the super users of this use is they'll use it for some of the correspondence as well. So some of their like weekly correspondence with their staff, or as people are, prayer requests coming in, they can use it to help. Hey, I'm going to type out a response, kind of supplement this with insights from our sermon library. And so it's not writing the email for them, but it's taking the core heart behind what they're trying to do and supplementing and showing them and saying, hey, at minute 35 in the sermon from 10 years ago, you had this quote, and this is going to share here. So we're going to embed that link there to that so they can actually share the insights from the decades worth of Holy Spirit inspired wisdom that's now accessible to be used, even in something as mundane as replying to an email.
Wow, that part I think is great. Like we know that I think one of Google's original mission statements is really to make the world's knowledge accessible in an instant. And yet that's not really the case, right? And we're hunting and pecking on Google, and tools like this is actually doing that on a very practical basis. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Now, one of the things that I think is just what I love about our community is we have thousands of growth-minded pastors that are following along and even contributing their best practices, what they're seeing working, etc. Can you give us like a 60-second pitch, or what would you say if we had a room full of pastors, all the people that are listening in today? What would you say to them about AI discipleship and actually about trying out Tapos for themselves? What do you have to offer them today?
Yeah, specifically about Tapos. If you are tired of just prepping sermon after sermon after sermon every Sunday, and then not seeing that sermon actually go the bandwidth or like the actual potential it has to create disciples, if you're tired of that, and if you're overwhelmed with going, man, I need to generate new and new things, which I'm there, I'm tired. If you're there, there's a tool called Tapos that takes all of your sermons, all of your content, all of your podcasts, anything that you've created, and it makes them searchable, it makes them shareable, and it makes them unforgettable. It's actually taking your Holy Spirit inspired wisdom, giving it to your people to begin equipping them to actually be doing ministry. Um, Tapos is a very safe first step into the AI world.
I love it. Great. Now, if you're looking forward in the next chapter of technology development and even the church world, I would ask each one of you your answer to this question. What are you most excited about next? Either for your product or the church tech space in general. What is getting you most excited about what's next? What's up ahead?
I think for me, one of the things that excites me most is the interconnectivity that we're starting to see in the church tech space, but also just in the kingdom as a whole. As we work towards each other, as you know, there's a lots of tools running in parallel. Can we lock arms and start to build things that are interconnected, that can help serve the church more holistically than we could do individually?
This is how you know Preston and I spend a little too much time together. I had the exact same. It was
That's
conversations. Yeah, well, the conversations I've had with people who are working alongside, I've been so blessed just to see God working, other people filled with the Spirit, other people who love God, wanting to further this.
Awesome. If someone's interested after hearing this about Tapos, like where should they go next? What is the call to action for everybody here today?
Yeah, you can follow us, find our website. It's Tapos.app, Tapos.app. You can also email us at hello@Tapos.app and book a demo. The link's on our website. We'd love to chat, whether it's checking out Tapos or just questions about AI in general. We are here to help.
Awesome. We're going to end with a fun little section that we do with some of our guests here. It's called our lightning round of questions. It's fast, furious, and fun. So I'm going to put you on your toes here and ask you a couple of questions, right? And so maybe we start with Preston, and then Nick, you're on bat after, and we'll go back and forth. So the first question is, what is your favorite app on your phone or a piece of tech right now that you can't live without? What are you obsessed with? Preston, you go first.
Superhuman, AI-powered emails. It is fantastic. Game changer.
I've heard about that platform. So curious about it. Nick, what about you?
Mine's ChatGPT. As I make coffee, I tell it all of my to-do lists, and it reminds me during the day.
Yes, I love it. Okay, what's something about your job that would surprise people?
Half my day I end up spending, I had calf urine covering my leg yesterday because I was carrying a baby calf to go take care of it. So I live on a ranch. So that is a little bit of a dichotomy with the AI world that I live in.
Yeah, I will say that sometimes you have a Zoom call and then there's literally cows in the background, and it's not just a wallpaper for fun.
You can smell me through the Zoom call.
So it's a very different experience when we're talking online. Nick, what about you?
I don't know. I'm talking to pastors. Everyone already knows what pastors do. I don't spend all my day in prayer. I don't have the Bible memorized. I don't know.
You haven't sinned in 3 years. Yeah.
I haven't seen. Yeah. I'm not even gonna. Yeah,
Okay,
anyways.
we'll go on to the next one. So, what's one church trend that you think is overhyped or done?
Ooh. Oh, the heavy marketing kind of gets cringy at times for me. I think it's important. I think there's the space for it, but I think it can get cringy at times.
What about you, Nick? What's one church trend you think is overhyped or done?
Um, I'm gonna be a little bit bold here. I see a very big movement towards very small church, 150 people or less. So big churches, I think, we'll see what happens.
Nice.
There's a need for them, but I do see a movement happening.
Okay. Here's a religious question. Apple or Android?
Apple. Unfortunately, I shifted about 10 years ago. I was forced to by my old company to go Apple, and I'm happy to say I did it.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, Apple.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Part of the family. And then going back to church trends, what's one church trends more pastors need to pay attention to today besides AI?
Nick, go ahead if you got it. I don't have one. I'm sorry. I had something prepared.
Um, it's going to be the same answer as I had on the previous one. Micro church, getting more intentional, meeting in living rooms a little bit, uh, being real, doing life together.
Small
One
is
that I
the
would
new
say,
big.
yeah, one I would
Yeah.
say is maybe personalization. What does it look like to be more personalized in the AI age, but specifically for within the kind of spiritual growth and discipleship?
Awesome. And then we're going to leave this with the question we always ask is fill in the blank. The future of church tech is blank. The future of church tech is,
Personal.
okay, Nick?
Um, Discipleship. It has to be.
Okay.
It has to be.
Yeah, exponential. Their theme this past year was 180 degrees back to discipleship, and so I think that's a very good one to end on with. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We'll have to have you back and share more of your journey, and then maybe even talking through specific use cases of what you can do. Because I think Tapos versus some other AI apps out there is a lot more extensible and flexible, and that you actually can do many more things that most people don't even think about. And I'm excited about the future ahead for you guys. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in today to the ChurchTechToday.com podcast. If this conversation sparked some ideas for your church, can you make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes? But be sure to share this with another pastor, another teammate, someone else that needs to hear it, because we all need more conversations about AI in this age. And it's a great excuse to actually have maybe a lunch and learn, or do it as part of a staff meeting. Have an assignment to listen to this together, and then start those discussions. If you've got any questions, any feedback, or have any suggested topics and people that you want us to talk to and tackle next, email me directly, Kenny Jahng. My email address is kenny@churchtechtoday.com. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, remember, don't just build with tech, lead with it.